Hey everyone, so I got another kinda random video for you again here. What brought me to make this video was the fact that recently I've been trying to clean some junk off of my shelf so I have a bit more space for my game collection, which you can see all up there. Um, yeah, it's kinda getting out of hand. And I decided to start with the gaming magazines first because they're kinda easy to just take and shove in a box and never really look at again. Because at this point, they're kinda outdated, and I could look up information about most of these games online, and I can also look up video reviews of them as opposed to just reading reviews of them. And I know it sounds kind of lazy that I can't take the time to read a review, but to be honest, video reviews are just easier to digest, and you can also look at gameplay while listening to someone's opinion. And even if you don't feel you necessarily agree with their opinion, you can kind of look at the gameplay and judge whether or not you'd ever want to try that game out for yourself. So, I'd also like to point out these aren't the only two game magazines I own. I mean, this is the only GamePro magazine I own, but I have a bunch more Game Informer magazines that are just off camera for this video. Because the main point of this video isn't to show off my gaming magazine collection, because to be honest, I don't really consider it to be that spectacular. But the main reason, and the reason why I have these two magazines here in particular, is because they both have what I personally consider to be some dumb ads, and I just kind of wanted to show them off and give my thoughts on why I think they're both dumb. But at the same time, I kind of felt, maybe I could give my brief thoughts on both these magazines and what I think about them. So before I get into each individual magazine, I'd like to mention that I haven't gone back and read each of these magazines extensively. I've just kind of thumbed through them and looked up titles of games I didn't recognize, and so I could look up information of them and see if I, liked them and would want to ever play them at all. And not only that, but just kind of look through them one last time before I put them in a box and probably never look at them again. So yeah, I can't really give any thoughts about the information in any of these magazines because I didn't, thoroughly read them. So just gonna give that disclaimer out of the way. Anyways, let's get into Game Informer. Uh, I honestly don't think Game Informer is a bad gaming magazine. It's definitely the magazine I personally think of when I think of a gaming magazine. And I think for a lot of people my age, that's kind of the case. But, maybe probably for older people, it's something like Nintendo Power. But for people like me, it's more like Game Informer. And weird thing is that, Nintendo Power's gone, and I think PlayStation Magazine's gone too. Like, they don't make magazines anymore. But Game Informer, they're still hanging in there, still making magazines and whatnot. So I guess that's a good thing for them. So as far as some unique things about uh, Game Informer that I kind of liked, hang on, I'm trying to find it. I know it's in here somewhere. There's like this special thing. Here it is. There's a special thing that they do called the Sacred Cow Barbecue, which is basically just they look at popular franchises, even some beloved franchises like Half-Life and Super Smash Brothers, and just basically kind of say they tell what's wrong with them and whatnot. They just name all the stuff that's wrong with the franchises, I guess, is what you could say. And then the other thing I found interesting about Game Informer magazines are that with their reviews, you have the typical written review, and then you have the score. But one thing that Game Informer kind of does differently is that they'll give you a second opinion, which is they basically get another reviewer's point of view on it and they give their score on it. So that's kind of cool because it kind of helps you further justify whether or not you should get this game or not. And just to see, what, just kind of get a estimation of what the general consensus of the game is, I suppose. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about Game Informer, I guess. That's all the interesting stuff. Oh wait, that's not all I have to say. What am I talking about? Um, uh, okay, regarding reviews and review scores, just like with any other game news source, like say IGN or GameSpot, there's always those few reviewers or review scores that I just don't agree with. And that's kind of the case again with Game Informer. One is for the game The Last Story. They gave it a 6 out of 10, which personally I think is more like a 7 out of 10, but I'd go even farther to say that's an 8 out of 10. And, 7 out of 10 translates into a good game, and 8 out of 10 translates into a good game, a great game for me personally. And another one that I didn't agree with was No More Heroes. They gave that a 6 out of 10, and I personally felt it was more like a 7 out of 10, good game. I definitely didn't feel like it was above average or just, okay. But the one review I think I disagreed with the most was for this game I have over here, just free at hand, is Eco Creature Save the Forest, which, most of you probably don't know what this game is. This game it's a RTS type of game for the DS where you play as a creature of the forest and you command a small army of like squirrels and other animals, and you just try to protect the forest from like machines and pollution and whatnot. Yeah, it's a kind of like eco message type of game. I can't really think of the word for it, but you know what I mean. It's just like, preserve nature and stuff like that. But anyways, the review of this game, for one, it wasn't really much of a review, I felt. I mean, they gave just like a little tiny snippet, like about that much for the review anyways, but I mean, even so, it's just, he didn't really like fairly like review the game, I felt, and just gave it a 3 out of 10, which, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of RTS type of games, and I'm not a huge fan, I mean, and this game isn't really changing my opinion on that. It's, I mean, I don't hate the game, but I don't really love it either. I'd at least say it's a 5 out of 10, at least an average or okay game. But I'd maybe go a little farther to say it's a 6, more of a 6 out of 10, like above average. At least in my personal opinion, I think people that are more into RTS games get into this game more than I can. Just so far, a 5 out of 10 for me. I don't really agree with that review. A 3 out of 10 just seemed kind of dumb and needlessly harsh. Yeah, that's all my thoughts on Game Informer. So, with GamePro, this is the only GamePro magazine I've ever read. Don't really have any prior experience to it, reading this magazine. But one thing that I found kind of interesting about this magazine compared to Game Informer, which you'll probably figure out with me thumbing through them, is that they have a lot more ads than Game Informer. Like, here's an ad, here's an ad, there's an ad, there's an ad, and there's an ad, and, there's just so many ads in this one compared to Game Informer. And that's probably because that, this is a smaller game magazine company, and they need all the sponsorship and money they could get to fund these magazines and to fund their company. So I mean, it doesn't bother me. It's just something I kind of noticed that was interesting to me. Another thing kind of different about this magazine compared to Game Informer is, I'm trying to find it, so just bear with me here. I might not be able to find it. Oh, well, I'll just say it. The other thing is that they're on a 5-point scale compared to Game Informer, which they're on a 10-point scale. So that was kind of interesting too. And really just this magazine in general, the topic of it I found interesting with it. It's Halo 2 versus Killzone versus Metroid Prime 2. Because, this was actually kind of interesting at the time that each console had their own exclusive first person shooter coming out. And, this magazine just kind of compares the two and see which one you should maybe get if you were to get either of them. And I just think that that's really, it's kind of a once in a lifetime type of topic to talk about. And it's just really interesting that I found. And here's an ad that I kind of felt was kind of funny. It's a Tony Hawk Underground 2 ad, and it says, "What are you staring at? Get in the van." It's like a very, very rapey type of ad there. I just found it kind of hilarious. But no, that's not the ad that I thought was stupid. Just to further clarify. That's pretty much it. I don't really have any review scores or reviews I don't agree with this. Again, this is like the only Game Pro magazine I've ever read, and with Game Informer, the reviews I picked out, those were like over several issues, like 3 out of the several issues, so I mean, there weren't really as many to pick out of here that like I didn't agree with as opposed to Game Informer. Anyways, one thing that I think this magazine definitely has over Game Informer is that there are a bunch more cheat codes. Like, with Game Informer, let me show you real quick. With Game Informer, they typically just have this one little page of cheat codes, but GamePro, they have like pages upon pages of just cheat codes. Like, nothing but cheat codes here. And there's some other cheat codes there. So that's definitely one advantage GamePro has over Game Informer. But maybe that's due to the time that this one came out compared to this one. Because, of course, this is covering games on PS2 and GameCube and original Xbox. And this one's I'm talking about games from PS3, 360, and all those generation consoles. And that's, when cheat codes kind of started to die out. So, maybe that's why this one has a bit more advantage than this one. But anyways, I think that's it. Those are all my thoughts on the magazines. Sorry that it kind of took a little bit longer. But, I'll just put a little timestamp to skip to the actual ad part. So anyways, let's get to the first dumb ad, which is right here, which obviously, looking at it firsthand, it's just kind of like, what is this ad? It's just a time progression thing of this one shot. And, you look down here and you see it's sponsored by the Navy SEALs. And it also says over here, "Do you have what it takes?" And what I find dumb about this ad is just that they're basically saying, it's hard to just look at a screen all day and do nothing, basically. And, I don't really think that's something that really, I think they could have, it doesn't really get across the point that, being Navy is a hard thing compared to, like, having to go into combat and stuff like that. Like, I mean, honestly, to get the type of, because, correct me if I'm wrong, military type people get really good benefits, like health benefits and, education benefits and stuff like that. To just sit in front of a screen and just look at it all day and just get those sort of benefits, fuck, I could do that. It's not really hard, but then again, it's, you kind of had to take into the fact, could you just literally sit there and be bored just looking at the screen? I mean, I could maybe do it if I could at least listen to some music or something, but I prefer to just like be able to look at stuff on my phone or, play some handheld games or something. But, if I had those options, I could maybe do it, but if if I didn't, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, it'd be worth it for the benefits alone, but the actual job, I don't know. Uh, I mean, you know, it's just they could have done a much better ad to kind of portray like how tough being a Navy SEAL would be. Like, to be honest with you, this is something that anybody could do, honestly. I mean, of course you got to take into the fact, how sane you are as a person, just sit there and stare at a screen and not not really do much anything else. But I mean, it's not really demanding job, just sit there and stare at a screen. So, it's anything that it's something anybody could do is what I was basically trying to get across and why I think this ad was dumb. But yeah, honestly, that ad isn't so much as dumb, and it's debatable whether it's really dumb or not. But the one I think is really dumb is this ad right here. That's a GameStop receipt I put as a place marker. But this ad, it's a Walmart ad, and it's about this GameCube bundle right here. It's got the jet colored GameCube and Indigo GameCube. You could get a memory card, bongo controllers, and Donkey Konga with it. But what's dumb about it is that you got this kid taking these GameCubes and just shoving them in the refrigerator and saying cool. Now, obviously, I get the pun of this, cool as in, these things are like, I like these things, but also cool as in like it's cold and, stuff like that. But I think I might, oh well, I think it'll be okay. Sorry, I kind of messed up the video. But, anyways, back on point. It's not the fact I don't get the stupid pun. It's more like, okay, there's three things I don't really get about this thing. Number one, why is this guy so small to begin with? Like, as you can see, I assume that's like a soda can or something, is like about twice the size as him. And this ad doesn't give any prior context as to why he's so small like this. Secondly, why is he getting all these GameCubes like that are like half the size of his entire body? Why, like, who needs all of these GameCube systems? It's just ridiculous, for one thing. And especially at his size, like, what the heck how is he gonna really play all these games? Like, shit. But the thing that I really, really don't understand about this ad is that, why is he putting GameCubes in the refrigerator? Like, who in their right mind does that? Like, it's stupid. I mean, putting GameCubes in the refrigerator it's probably gonna mess them up, It's probably gonna cause them to not work. I don't know. I could be wrong on that, Maybe you just take them out of the fridge and they'll just be really cold to the touch. But more than likely, it's probably gonna mess up the GameCubes. So, this ad didn't make any sense to me. But I guess at the same time, it's kind of an effective ad because, I saw it and stopped and looked at it and I remember it. And hell, I mean, if I saw this back in the day and it was advertising this, if I didn't already have the GameCube, I probably would have gotten this bundle. So, I mean, hey, I guess it did its job, but It's just so weird. I mean, he's so small. He's getting all these Gamecubes for whatever reason. I guess just because he's a hoarder and they're on sale or something. And he's putting them into a refrigerator. It's just like, what the fuck, Walmart? Like, this is the best you could do to advertise your GameCube bundle. Like, come on, guys. But yeah, that's all I really had to say about this dumb ad. Or just these magazines in general. So, I think this video's gone on long enough. I definitely didn't expect it to be like 20 minutes long. But, you know, that's kind of what happens with me, I guess. Anyways, thanks for watching this random video, and I'll talk to you again later. So, peace.